Now to continuing coverage of the Bibb County child case involving 10 young victims. A former teacher now says she raised red flags about one of those children nearly a year before the case surfaced. ABC 3340's Gracie Johnson spoke with her today.
I just feel like it should have been looked into more.
A former Bibb County teacher asked us not to identify her, but says she recognized something wasn't right with a child believed to be one of 10 victims in a Bibb County case. It was the 2023-24 school year, and she says one of her students stood out for all the wrong reasons.
She was in my class, and she was just very delayed developmentally, and there could be billions of reasons, but now with all this coming out, it's kind of like that's probably why.
The teacher says school staff reported the child's condition more than once to school administrators.
It was multiple times. No, it never really got better.
The teacher tells me that reports are typically made directly to the school counselor, who would then contact necessary external agencies. Investigators say at least 10 children were drugged and abused in an underground bunker. 7 adults now behind bars and facing a long list of charges, including human trafficking and kidnapping. Our anonymous teacher says the reports she made to school administrators did not capture the full extent of what investigators have now allegedly uncovered.
Knowing now that they were drugged and stuff, so that had a lot to do with where she is academically.
Law enforcement says this major case wasn't referred to them by DHR until February 2025.
I was maybe not shocked, just even more saddened that nothing happened back then, was looked into far enough for it to be stopped back then, and it's just been ongoing.
I reached out to Alabama DHR regarding these claims, and they responded saying the Alabama Department of Human Resources is bound by state confidentiality laws and cannot comment. Gracie Johnson, ABC 3340 News.
So I just want to list that, again, these are stories that I would at a point in time regularly cover, but, against things that I have no control over, I had to slightly lay back. Shout out to the person, please forgive me, forgot the name. I had somebody directly in the live stream inform me of this video, which I didn't know anything about at all, nor did I see it anywhere on my social media. And I pretty much have a generalized type of feed when it deals with my social media. So, pretty much any and everything can happen to pop up there. It's just a matter of given time, I guess, of when, or if it just happens to become popular. So I went directly over the story. Again, wanted to just give you guys a video instead of reading directly from it. Didn't want to, misconstrued any type of words or anything like that. And pretty much we have this group here who are within their own communities. And they decided that they wanted to have this bunker, and within this bunker, they had kids. And inevitably, we know that things were happening, things were going down. You don't even need to state specifically what it was. I had to bleep out, just in case people wonder, I had to bleep out those words because, again, when certain words are there, YouTube and their algorithm will do certain things in order to make sure these types of videos and different things are not specifically shown to either subscribers or newer people that are interested in the channel, and so on and so on and so on. And the main thing as a content creator is that you want to get this information, this news directly out there, right? So you have these people that were caught directly in a sting that decided that, hey, we're gonna, in a sense, have a school in our bunker, or whatever it is they decided to do. And they've been doing this for some years, because as the anonymous person stated, it was like, hey, and I quote, let me go directly back. They said one comment was, she was in my class and she was just very delayed developmentally, and there could be billions of reasons why, but now with all of this coming out, it's kind of like that's probably why. And then another comment or reference there stated that maybe not shocked, just even more saddened that nothing happened back then. Like, looked into it far enough to be stopped back then, and then it was just going on. And again, that was directly from a teacher, because they were stating that this was going on, at least from the article, from 2023 through 2024 school year, and we are currently in 2025 just hearing about this. So this is quite some time that these kids had to deal with these adults being in those circumstances, pretty much probably being trapped in those circumstances, getting drugged up and all of these other types of things. Again, that is horrendous. And as I've stated before, things like this should never happen to kids. Every kid should be able to just live a kid life, right? They should just be able to live a life where they're not dealing with or going through certain types of things that will have a negative, indelible mark that will be left on their memory. Something that they're going to have to manage, take therapy for, take medications for, something that they're going to have to work through for the rest of their life. Like, a lot of their trust is going to be broken. And a lot of them are possibly broken to the point where they might not ever be fixed. They for sure will not ever be the same person that they were before they got into contact with these people or made it directly into this bunker. And then on top of that, no one even knows what types of things these kids were specifically given, how that's going to affect them with their mental development. Like I said, man, it's a very, very sad story. And as I've stated before in other videos, things like this happen every single day. Things like this happen every single day in communities across the United States. And in a lot of instances, these stories are not going to make, the nightly news. They're not going to make a 24-hour, 48-hour, 72-hour rotation. They're not going to do that. This is pretty much a one and done thing up until other information comes directly out that they can happen to use to redo the story and make it a little bit lengthier, a little bit longer, or to maybe have 2 segments to show it a few times within a 24-hour period. But like I said before, more stuff like this needs to be highlighted. Like the teacher said that she requested to be anonymous in that she noticed the developmental delays and severely poor hygiene and chronic absence of one of her students. That's crazy. And if you look directly at this picture, you can clear cut see 2 women there. Amongst the men that are there, you see 2 women that are there that allowed, that orchestrated, that sided with, that made sure to body block and to make any type of excuses to allow these things to happen. And if I look, one of those dudes looks a shade darker, just a shade darker than the rest of the white folks that's up there. Color me surprised. Color me surprised. But like I said, things like this happen across the United States every single day. And it's not even just people like this. This is just the I guess you could say the grounded version of this. The more terrible version of things like this is when you have teachers, you got substitute teachers, you got principals, you got administrators, you got police officers, EMS workers, you got nurses, doctors, you got people in pre-K, preschool, nurseries. There is possibly not an area that I have not talked about somebody being associated with any other type of areas out here where these things have been taking place or something similar. Again, this should not be happening. It shouldn't be happening. It should not exist. And prison is not enough. Because again, I've stated to people before, the only thing that you're clearly doing is when you throw them in prison, you're saying that, okay, we understand what it is that you did. It was wrong what it is that you did. And we're going to allow you to carry out the rest of your life in prison. 3 to 4, square meals a day, shower, clothes, room and board. You pretty much have no responsibilities. Like I said, the laws need to change. The laws directly need to change in order to protect these kids directly out here. That is what needs to happen at the end of the day. But in order for that to happen, that would also mean that a lot of the lawmakers that are in these exact same bubbles, these exact same areas, would need to be removed from their seats so that people, the correct people, could be there so that these laws can get passed. But when would that ever happen? Right? But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this video and everything that I stated in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for the next video.